back to my channel, and I am super excited that today is the first day of one palette, 4 looks, and we are going to be using the Urban Decay Born to Run palette that was voted on by you guys. We are going to do things a little bit different this time. There is going to be a theme of tips and tricks throughout using this palette for the next 4 days, and today's theme is all about making uneven eyes even. So before we get going, hit that subscribe button, give me a little thumbs up, please share this with somebody that you think might like it, and let's do it. Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. I'm like so excited to do this. Get some tea, get a snack. We're gonna jump in. So this is definitely gonna be a more technique heavy video. We're gonna be talking all about making sure those eyes have an optical illusion of looking more even. So for me, as I age, my eyes have started to become very uneven. You can see right away that this eye is very kind of less hooded than this eye. Everything on this side of my face is just a little bit more hooded, a little bit smaller. So we're gonna give you the breakdown on how to make them look more even. You'll also notice that this eyebrow doesn't grow hair as far down as this one does, which we will talk all about that as well. Not only does the eyeshadow need to be, even and adjusted on some parts of the eye, but also to sometimes the brows do to give that optical illusion. So let's jump in. The first thing I already have done is prep my face with the Tatcha primer. I've used it on my eyes and everywhere else. Now we're going to go into the palette. Now, this is the only thing that I'm going to say about this palette is there is no white matte shadow. There's not even one that is a little bit deeper than my skin tone. I feel every palette needs to have a white matte shadow. So what we're going to do is pick your favorite. Just go and pick, go to the drugstore and pick a white matte shadow, one that matches your skin tone. Since we used this last time, I'm going to go into this one. I'm going to use the white shadow. That's called Sheer Joy in the It Cosmetics Pretty palette. All right, so let's jump into this palette. We're gonna be using our Wavy 144, and we are gonna start with Riff. Today, we're gonna be talking about uneven eye shapes, but we're also going to be doing a very quick work look with this palette. We will be kind of growing in intensity in colors that we use. I definitely will be giving you guys a party look, a colorful eye look. We'll be talking a little bit more about brush techniques, all of that good stuff. But today's going to be a very quick work look with this palette. So we are going to, for this eye shape, we are going to, like we normally talk about, we are going to hit this eye socket. Remember, we find the eye socket right here, and we are going to go on top of the brow bone. Our brow bone is already highlighted, so that's great. And we are going to apply concealer and all of that good stuff afterwards. We're just trying to get the base down. I'm just going to bring this guiding where the end of my eye stops and flicking it up to bring that eye kind of uplifted and turned up. Eye lifting, full show. Okay. And then we're going to take our pencil brush. This one's by e.l.f. And we are going to dip into Good as Gone. And we're going to bring our chin down. We're going to turn our pencil brush on its side, and we're just going to kind of get right in here. And we're going to carve out this crease area to really give this eye some definition. And we're going to do the exact same thing. Start where your eye ends. Do not go down. Flick that up. And make this a little bit darker on the outside. Take your Wavy 144 and start to kind of just blend this together. Now we're going to go along the lash line with the pencil brush, just ever so slightly on the very outside of the eye. We're going to leave the inside portion of our eye free of any kind of liner, because with a more hooded eye shape, a little bit more eyes that are aging, ones that have folds here, we don't want to bring too much darkness in there because it'll just really highlight everything. And I'm using all matte shadows at the moment, blending it out. And you can see it pulls attention to that outside of the eye. And then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to go into what is this? Stranded, which is a beautiful coppery gold color, and I'm just going to bring it ever so slightly from the inside corner to the middle of the eye, and you could just blend that right out. So it's really as easy as that is. This is perfect for work because it's really defined, it's natural, has a little bit of something special right here, and then we're going to apply some mascara. I'm going to be using Charlotte Tilbury. It's just what I have sitting here in front of me. So that is basically it. Now, doing the bottom portion of this eye is going to be the most important part into making our eyes look even. So I'm just going to real quick jump on this eye, make it look exactly like this one, and we'll get into that technique. Be right back. We are back. Everything is on just like the other eye. Yes, I have an eyebrow on and everything else, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I want you to study really quickly. I'm going to be real still. I want you to study the difference between my eyes right now, just on the top. We'll deal with the bottom in just 1 second. So what I see is that obviously this eyebrow bone is more pronounced. This one has a lot deeper of a crease, but it's also a lot wider. Okay, so let's tackle those two things first. Okay, so we're just going to take a fluffy brush. We're going to go into the very first color that we used, which is Riff. Okay, so I'm going to first solve the problem that this looks more hooded than this. And what that means is that I need to bring a little bit more darkness up on this brow bone area, okay? Because I need this to be a little bit darker, a little bit higher. So this is going to take some practice, you guys. This is going to take a lot of practice studying your eyes and noticing what is different. So remember, adding a color, darkness, whatever, is going to make it recede. So right here, this I'm going to blend a little bit more just to make sure that the saturation of color matches. Okay, great. So now they look even as far, we'll do brows in a second, but now they look even as far as where the color, that first color we used, is coming up. Now let's tackle the depth. So this eye is, to me, where I want it. This eye needs more darkness to make it look like this eye. So I'm going to put a little bit more dark on the outside, because what it's going to do is it's going to make this section of my eye, so this section, these sections, look like they match a little bit more. So we're just going to bring a little bit of darkness here, and I'm going to bring a little bit more depth further in, because this part on my eye has more, it's like swollen for some, it's not really swollen, but it's puffier on this side. So I've added darkness to make it have an optical illusion of it receding. And so I'm going to be trying to mimic that on this side. Okay? So the darkness has to come down further on my larger eye than it does on the more hooded, smaller eye. I know that this can be a little bit confusing because it does take practice and it takes a little bit of tweaking. So that to me seems like pretty even, as much as it's even as it's going to be. We're going to go into our first color again, which is Riff. And we're going to start with the side that we feel the most comfortable with, which is usually the bigger side. And again, following the bottom lash line. Follow that bottom lash line, connect it to the top section that we were just working with in an upward motion, and then smoke this out to however you feel comfortable. So if it's work, maybe you want to do a little bit less. But for me, you know, this seems like a reasonable kind of amount that we're pulling it down. You will have to do this technique where you bring a little bit down, because if you're like me, where this eye is so much smaller than this eye, you're not going to be able to get them even unless you bring shadow underneath that eye. Okay, I hope that this makes sense. Now we're going to go into our second color, which is Good as Gone, which is that deeper chocolate color. Do the exact same thing, but we're going to stay real close to the lash line. Connect it upwards with the darkness that we've already created on the top. Very little. And so you feel like, okay, that eye is, you know, lined or whatever. We're gonna take our first color again, Riff, and we are going to pull that underneath the eye just like we did on the other eye. Connect it up here, right? Now, I want you to look straight ahead. I'm gonna put my mirror in front of me. This eye is smaller, okay? So I will have to pull this shadow, the first one, down further. Do you see how they look much more even? I'm gonna take my second shade. I'm looking straight ahead again, you guys. And I'm going to do the same line. Same exact line. But I am doing it a little heavier, okay? So do you now see how they look more even? It's just gonna take a little bit of playing with the shadows, but if you're just concerned about doing just a really small thin line under the eye, to be honest with you, you can make one line thicker than the other line to make that eye look more similar, but using this kind of shadowed technique, and you can do it with any color. It doesn't even have to be this dark. It can be just like a taupe, you know, and a soft brown, and it will give you the same optical illusion. I wanted to use a little bit deeper color so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Now, for this eye, you want to map out in your head a straight line from the bottom of your brows. So here's my straight line, okay? So this, you see how much more hair I have on this eyebrow? I'm going to have to fill in that much more hair on this eyebrow, okay? So you want to start there so you know what your goal is. Now, again, this is not easy. I always start underneath because this is usually where you can see if the eyes are more even. It usually helps balance out the eye a lot, is just by going underneath. And if you start here, you might not have as much on the top. All right, so everything is on. I hope that this makes sense. It's really about adding darkness where you want things to kind of recede. It's all about adding lightness or a little bit of shimmer to make parts have an optical illusion of being a little bit bigger and wider, as well as the underneath line, really focusing on how much you smoke out. So if you want the tiniest little bit, then just do a tiny little bit on the eye that is the shape that you like best, and then really smoke that out on the other eye. And to be very, very honest, in person, nobody is going to really notice this as long as you also are using the correct brushes. So your pencil brush is going to be your best friend for evening out your eye shape because it is so detailed. It has a fine tip. So you using a bigger, larger brush is not going to give you as much precision as you need to make this look more natural and authentic and have that optical illusion of things looking more even. So I hope that you are going to join me the rest of the week. We're going to play up some fun colors, and I can't wait to share with you some more tips. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Lots of love from me to you. Bye, guys.